Competitive Pokemon is something I care about a lot. Well, I may not be very good at it, it's still something I care about, but I will admit there are a lot of issues with the competitive scene right now. A couple months ago, I made this video. This was when the Pokemon World Championships were taking place, and this was the first time ever Pokemon that weren't in the game could be used in the format. Not only that, this was the first World Championships of Scarlet and Violet. And so powerful Pokemon like Urshifu made the game objectively pay to win. I'm not even joking, Urshifu won the World Championships that year. But now with the release of the Teal Mask and the Indigo Disc, I want to revisit this topic as pay-to-win aspects of the game are still in the game. So let's answer this question. Is competitive Pokemon still pay-to-win? Well, to answer this question, we gotta look at the DLC. And the DLC is objectively pay-to-win, but I want to take this to a different perspective for once. As you all know, the reason why Game Freak started to make DLC was so that they didn't have to make the third version like game. And as you all know, once the third version game came out, everyone would have to migrate to the third version game to play in competitive tournaments. An example of this would be Sun and Moon to Ultra Sun and Moon. Other examples would be Black and White to their sequels, and even X and Y to ORAS. It's cause in these newer games, there tends to be new forms of Pokemon, or just straight up new Pokemon. So you would have to get these games to play in tournaments, and there are even physical copies of the game with the added on DLC acting like the quote unquote third version. However, you don't have to get the DLC in order to compete compared to if you don't have the third version games. You simply can't play at all. But I feel the DLC is more so of a pay-to-play aspect, if that makes sense. Now we actually get to Pokemon that are pay-to-win, and this one is a big one. Now in the Indigo Disc, there are actually version-exclusive Paradox Pokemon. In Scarlet, we have Raging Bolt and Gouging Fire, and in Violet, we have Iron Crown and Iron Boulder. Now this is why I wanted to make this video. If you guys have been keeping up with the meta like I have, you've noticed that Raging Bolt and Gouging Fire have been dominating VGC, with Raging Bolt being a hard counter to Torn Shifu teams and even winning the first Regulation F Regional, to Gouging Fire top-cutting multiple events. But what about the Violet Paradox Mons? Well, Iron Crown can use Psy Spam, but is not recommended if you want to still have your dignity left. And Iron Boulder is kinda underwhelming. So this means, in the first time ever, there is an optimal Pokemon game to get for competitive tournaments. Players that picked up Violet are quite literally at a competitive disadvantage. So if I wanted to get the past Paradox Pokemon myself, if I was a Violet player, which I am by the way, I'd have to burn $95 and actually play the game, collect all the Pokemon, to activate the side quest to collect these 2 Pokemon, which is ridiculous. There's an objective example of pay to win right there. Another Pokemon that has been dominating tournaments is our good friend Tornadus. Tornadus and Landorus have been also dominating VGC, and they're just straight up not in Scarlet and Violet. Why? Well, I guess they wanted people to play Legends Arceus to get these legendary Pokemon? Well, that's another $60 down the drain. Oh, what's that? You got your Kubfu from the DLC, and you evolved it into an Urshifu Rapid Strike? Well, too bad, because Single Strike is the better one now. Guess I gotta burn $90 to get a Single Strike Urshifu, huh? But on a more serious note, if your only Pokemon game is Violet, and you wanted a Gouging Fire and a Landorus on your team, that's $155 for 2 Pokemon. The fact that I have to pay over $100 to get a few Pokemon will always be asinine to me. However, before we move on with the video, you are greeted by the Monkeys of Prosperity. They ask you to subscribe to the channel as we are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. You can also become a member for exclusive videos. I also have a Discord server if you want to join it. The link will be in the description below. However, if you do subscribe to the channel, may the Monkeys of Prosperity give you good luck. Now back to the video. Now there are a few arguments against this. While they're not incorrect, some of these arguments are just stupid in my opinion. The first one is to just trade with people to get the Pokemon. Oh, if it were that simple. Now the GTS is a very rough case for the Paradox Pokemon because they are so sought after. Casuals want them for dex completion and VGC players want them for tournaments. Now most Raging Bolt and Gouging Fire on the GTS are hacked. It's not really hard to tell if it's hacked, however, trying to get a legit one will probably take you a while. May I remind you the fact that the Pokemon Company encouraged you to get your own Pokemon too as well? Plus, I don't have any friends to trade with. In fact, the one person I am friends with that also plays VGC is playing Violet. So if we both need a Scarletmon, we're kinda fucked. Now another argument is to gen your Pokemon. Now, I'm all for genning, but the hack checks have gotten a lot better, so it's a lot harder for gen Pokemon to pass the hack check nowadays, especially since the home transfer mons need a home tracker to pass the hack check. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically a way to confirm your Pokemon has gone through home into Scarlet and Violet rather than just being gen onto Scarlet and Violet, if that makes sense. Plus, if I get a Raging Bolt from a trade bot and the OT is blamed with the Terranormal typing, I'm cooked. I'm fucked. The next argument is to just use different Pokemon. Okay, let's say these 5 Pokemon are all on the team, and the only Pokemon that fits on this team is Gouging Fire. If I don't have a Gouging Fire and I try to make a shitty substitute, it makes the team objectively worse. I have extremely limited options on what I could build since there's a good chance you probably need that pay-to-win Pokemon to glue your team together. And finally, the last argument I personally see is just buy and play the games to get the legendaries. I'm sorry if you get mad at this, but if you use this argument, there's a 99% chance you're a dumb fuck. Why would pro VGC players play a game just to get a single Pokemon when they can use that time to practice and master their team building skills? There's a reason why trading with friends is so prevalent in VGC. People just don't have the time to do that stuff. Yeah, people need to pay money to go to events, but that's because they have to in order to compete in tournaments. Paying money for a Pokemon game just to get a single Pokemon just seems unethical and a waste of time to most people. One last thing I'm going to mention before I end this video are restricted metas. I know we aren't there yet, but I'm going to mention it real quick just so I don't have to make this video for a third time. Calyrex is a very powerful Pokemon once fused with its horses. Calyrex Shadow won 2022 Worlds, and Calyrex isn't in the game, so yeah, that's another $90 down the drain again. But anyway, that will probably do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe and comment down below your honest thoughts on the current state of competitive Pokemon. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.